Right.
It says mute mic.
Taste the difference quality makes. And by Dent Neurologic Institute, developing solutions to neurological problems faced in our community.
Good morning. Welcome to Inside High School Sports. I'm your host, Tony Caligiuri, along with Francis Beck and Tom Prince from Western New York Athletics, Dick Gallagher, who writes for Channel 2. You can go online and catch both Western New York Athletics and Dick Gallagher's previews online at the respective websites. We're going to have news and notes today. Last week, if you remember, guys, we talked about Senior Martin and we talked up Class D. This week, we're going to get into Class C and B. There's a lot of teams to go over. But before we do that, as I mentioned, news and notes, and I want to tell you about the Frank Martin Memorial Scholarship Golf Scramble that is going to take place August 30th. It's four-person scramble. Registration deadline is Monday, August 27th. The shotgun start at 10 o'clock, registration at 9:45. $65 per person, $260 per team. Covers greens fees, carts, lunch, beverages, dinner, awards for top teams, a whole bunch of other stuff, raffle items, you name it, they'll have it. And if you make checks payable to the Jamestown Elite Frank Martin Memorial, please make reservations to 1446 4th Street, Jamestown, New York, 14701. Any email questions? JamestownElite@yahoo.com. That's JamestownElite@yahoo.com. Morning, guys.
Good
Good morning, everybody.
Happy Full Go Day.
Full go day?
Yeah.
Okay, Derek, moaning y'all.
I was waiting for that. Yeah, teams are in full pass, so today they're going at it. And next Saturday is big scrimmage Saturday.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
That's
Dick,
always a
do you
big
have
deal.
any of the tentative scrimmage schedules? I haven't seen a thing of who is scrimmaging whom.
No, the only one that might be constant is Canisius at 11 o'clock on next Saturday with quality teams there. But everything else right now is to be determined.
And would that be at the West Seneca facility? It's
Yes.
Canisius hosting that scrimmage?
Yes.
Frank just emailed Ken Stoll, the football chairman for Section 6, so hopefully he gets back to us pretty soon with that answer.
As you might catch the scrimmages, that's always a lot of fun to catch. And then the week after, that's it. The season starts. So it's upon us, folks.
Yeah, well, the following Friday, I think I'm gonna head down to Chautauqua Lake to see Kurt Fisher's opener with his new football team.
Cool. I look at the schedule and I say, okay, I'm gonna go to this game. And a couple of days later, no, I'm gonna go to that game. No, I'm gonna go to this game. So I don't really make up my mind until we get close to it. It's whatever concession stand Nick likes best. I mean, that's the tiebreaker, I guess. All right, guys, let's get into
Tony, if you do go to Dick's website and his stories, he will put what the best concession
Oh, I
stands
know.
are out there. So take a look, because it could be out there right now.
There's a lot of little tidbits in there that Dick throws in there, cracks me up. Like best dancer, well-dressed, nicknames, things like, what are some of the ones that you came up with this year, Dick?
The same ones over the past, but it's, we have best dancer, are the smartest, some of these kids are off the chart with 100, GPAs. The fastest, in some cases, the slowest.
The biggest?
Most photogenic players, most photogenic coaches. That gets, some people, with, making some comments. It's just.
Are the coaches lobbying you for most photogenic? I mean, is, Sean Brusso offering you, free lunch?
No,
if you put
Sean's
him in
one of the
there?
ones that's the worst answer.
Sorry, Sean, I didn't pick it.
The ones that amaze me, if you get an example, like, and I'll use one of my favorites back in softball, Abby Borkowski, when they had the senior day and all that, and we were going to sign for college. Francis might remember this. Oh yeah, and she also had a 99.5 quality point average, and she was only 10th in her class.
Wow.
That's crazy, man.
All right, guys, we have a lot of teams to go through today, so not as much joking around as we normally do. We have 34 teams to try to get in the short time that we have today. So as I said last week, we talked about Monsignor Martin in Class D. Dick, why don't you start us off with Class C? We have 14 teams split up into 2 leagues. What do we have?
Class C North, 7 teams. Cleveland Hill, who's dominated the class in recent years, has outstanding talent returning. Aaron Whaler is always New York candidate, excels on both sides of the ball. Jason Thomas only played 8 games last year, had 1,100 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns. Demario Grant, Taylor Durkin, and Chris Dean. The interesting point about this team is Aaron Whaler, Jason Thomas, Demario Grant, and Chris Dean were all a part of the state championship relay title, and all of them are underclassmen and will be being able to compete again. They have the best running backs in Western New York when you look at the 3 players.
That's always a nice thing to have, or a nice problem to have. Oh, who's going to get the ball?
And Silver Creek, Sean Helmer's done an excellent job there. They've got a couple of, outstanding athletes in McKinnon, Gadio Waltz, Luke Zumagala. And for Wilson, they've got 9 starters returning. They have an outstanding passing combination in Steve Ferricks and Marcel Wilson. Akron, has 2 outstanding players, Brendan Orr, Tim Longwell. Kawanda is 1-7 last year. They got 12 starters returning. Brady Andrews and Adam Sisti are outstanding for them. JFK could struggle this year. They graduated 23 seniors, which is huge. They've got Zach Manzella and Jay Lighton. And Roy Hart is not merging with Barker this year, but Marcus White is the new coach. They were only won 2 games last year. And Logan Morgan and Walter Semenka are key players. But if you look at it, Cleveland Hill right now is the class of that league going into the season.
All right, let's go real quick. I want to get Ken Ricker on, because I was promoting the Frank Martin Memorial Scholarship, and I know Ken is heavily involved in it. Ken, is there some information I missed that you need to get out there? That's pretty big, Ken. That is, the fact that you can provide, anytime you talk scholarships, if it's just 1, that's excellent, but you're talking 5 here, and that's fantastic. Outstanding. Thanks, Ken. Best of luck to that. And, we have information on our Facebook page. You go to Inside High School Sports. It's there. Brian and Ken and everybody will keep you updated and get more information out there as you need it.
I don't golf, but I plan on going down there and contributing in any way I possibly can on August 30th.
Cool. All right, Dick, I'm sorry. Let's continue.
Class C South, Southwestern has been dominant in this league for the last few years. 3 of the last 4 years, they actually participate in the sectional title games. Cole Snyder is one of the most versatile athletes in Western New York.
All the buzz on the offseason is about him.
Excels in hockey, excels in baseball and football. He's an outstanding quarterback, and he's committed to Rutgers. And their another good passing combination is Cole to Alex Card. Cooper Panis is an outstanding lineman. Faison Muner, excellent defensive player. And Falconer Castaneda Valley should be competitive, particularly with 2 studs, Connor Crabtree and Robbie Penhallow. And Franklinville, Ellicottville, they were 9-1 last year. They lost in the championship game. Now they're in Class C. They graduated 15 players. Brock Fletcher is at Utica now, playing football. Jacob Peters is an outstanding player. That they might have dominated in the Ds, but coming down to Cs, they'll find that this league is a little more competitive.
Especially with all the players they lost last year.
Yeah,
They lost
yeah.
a ton of good players.
Yeah.
That's hard to recoup.
Yeah, but Allegheny Limestone, the Gators, have good players, Patrick Wallace, his brother Connor Wallace, and Ben Giardini. Chautauqua Lake Westfield with Kurt Fisher in his first year, be interested in, as Roger said, he's gonna be going on and watch that game. We're just interested in the dynamics, watching the parents and how the players respond. But Zach Fisher, who also relocated from Maple Grove to, Chautauqua Lake, he's an outstanding 2-way player. Brandon Rose.
He's an outstanding young man.
Yeah, is an excellent player. Randolph Roosberg, they won those state championships in a row, and then they were close to another one, and then they unfortunately had a couple of kids that were suspended, and that ruined their season. But this year, they've got an outstanding lineman, Andrew Bernard, 6'4", 275, who definitely should be one of the Trent Trophy finalists. Nick Marsh is also a good player. In Portville, that only won 1 game the last 2 years. Gary Swetland, that's been there for 24 years. He retired. Josh Brooks has taken over as head coach. Roland Thompson and Jaden Lassler are their best players. When you look at it again, what I foresee is another battle between Southwestern and Cleveland Hill in the Class C championship game at the stadium.
What a surprise that is. Cleveland and Southwestern. I never figured that one out.
But that doesn't take anything away from the other teams,
No.
because you gotta play the game, and a lot of times I've made predictions that were wrong, and people let me know.
Hey, there are upsets. This is why we play the game on the field, not on paper.
And Dick, that game, Aaron Waller versus Cole Snyder, that could be for the Connolly Cup right there. You talk about 2 guys returning, Connolly Cup guys returning, that could decide who the winner is this year.
Yeah, and then when you take a look at the number of quality players this year, it's gonna be very, very, very difficult for the Conley Cup committee to select the 10 finalists. You might pick 4 or 5 automatically, but then there's gonna be another 20 kids that could fill those 5 other positions, and it's gonna be difficult, but it's good for football in Western New York, and then the more kids that get looked at, the more kids get recognition, more opportunities they have as far as being able to play
Oh,
college football.
There's gonna be some serious debating going on at the end of the year. As they
And
try to select
ditto
that.
for the Trench Trophy
Yeah.
as well. To pick just 10 finalists, there's gotta be 20 worthy of being finalists out there this year.
Well, if you remember the theme of what I pointed out when we talked about Monsignor Martin, how many did you talk about were Trench Trophy candidates? I mean, you talk
ton.
about 6'5", 300, unbelievable some of the stats you were throwing out there. Now you throw another one out that's down there. We've only gone through Class C at this point.
We haven't
What about
touched
the Bs,
B, A, and
A's, and
AA
the
yet.
double A's, which is gonna incorporate even more into there? I do believe this is probably the year of the quarterback, where you're gonna probably see the quarterbacks being the main focus as far as for the Conley Cup. Not saying that the other people aren't gonna get there, but it seems to be the quarterbacks are the one that are rising right now preseason to the top. You just talked about 2 right off the bat. I think that Cleveland Hill, the one thing that you're gonna see with them though, which we still need to see play out, is the line. what are they gonna do with that line play? Because it seemed to be that's where they got hit the most.
And
As
Dick,
far as
Line's,
trying to-
Yeah, it
line's
was
the key
huge.
to anything, but no matter what you run, if you don't have a solid line, you're in trouble.
I think they lose 2 Trench Trophy finalists from last year.
Right.
So they got to get the guys replaced. I talked to Coach Graham.
and Dick, what you brought up earlier, what are the chances, because there's 3 good running backs at Cleveland Hill, could they almost negate each other and cancel each other out when it comes to voting for the, Conley Cup? You know, well, they might pick, this back, someone else might pick this back, and all of them worthy, but because not one of them's dominating, they might be left on the outside looking in.
They may not even be in the equation.
My
because of
point,
that,
that's
yeah.
exactly my point.
Yeah.
You have the same problem, and just moving quick to Class B with Maryvale and Connor Desiderio, excuse me, and, Rashad Law. They're outstanding, and, you know, who knows what happens, but yet, that you have to play the games. But what Tom pointed out, this is the year of the quarterback. There are about 12 quarterbacks who are outstanding, and, you're gonna see some outstanding stats also, given, in offensive, scores, particularly this season, much better this year than last year.
The discussions are gonna be off the hook on this show this fall. There's gonna be a whole lot of it. All right, let's continue before the break.
You want to go to the Bs?
Yeah, let's get into the bees. We have 20 bees to talk about.
Okay, this is gonna be unique. There's 3 leagues, and I mentioned last week, excuse me, when you have the 3 leagues, B1, B2, and B3. In B1, there's 4 teams that actually couldn't be making the playoffs. Cheektowaga, Maryvale, Iroquois, and Pioneer. But they're going to be competing, you know, and have players from other leagues. But 3 of those 4 teams should be in the playoffs. One probably is not going to be in, mainly because of the competition in that particular league.
Right.
Not only that, I don't think a 4th place team, if they haven't changed the system, a 4th place team cannot make the playoffs.
I don't even know, yeah, but you know, it's difficult. But Cheektowaga is 29-4 in the last 3 years. Michelle Beal, who was in JVs for 2 years, last year, first year as a varsity, counted for 3,119 yards and 45 touchdowns. You have to look at what his outcome was last year, that this year he's one of the top contenders for Player of the Year. Tavon Roach is a tremendous linebacker. He's a tackling machine. Tamel Bass, who got hurt last year in practices, didn't play, outstanding wide receiver, and Austin Romanowski. And so when you look at it, and then Maryvale's got 14 starters that they're returning, and Rashad Law, Conley Cup candidate, has to be one of the final 10. Connor Desiderio, almost 1,500 yards passing, as a sophomore, 15 TDs. DeAndre Rice, an excellent linebacker. And those 2 play in week 7, as they did last year. And then in the championship game in Class B last year, Cheektowaga beat them by 1 in overtime. That game, that when they play this year, is gonna be one
Get
heck-
there early, get your popcorn.
And particularly when you look at it, excuse me, I believe they're playing at Cheektowaga, but Cheektowaga's got that new athletic
Yeah,
complex.
it looks nice.
That it's outstanding, so, Maryvale and Cheektowaga are strong, but Iroquois is dropped down from Class A to B. Ethan Herbal, Ethan Bowen, Corey Day, Casey Phillips are outstanding. They were 6-3 last year in A's. They got 11 starters returning. Pioneers a school to watch. 14 starters returning from last year's, I believe, 6-3 squad. 7 players benched, 275 to 315. Means they have the strongest team. Mike Riegerman, 122 tackles last year, 11 touchdowns, 96 GPA, tremendous leader, captain. Then they have Trevor Smith, Nick Rinker, Tyler Ellis. They have a JV player, Trey Hill, that rushed for 1,400 yards as a JV. And they're going to be extremely competitive. So when you take a look at those 4 teams, every one of those teams, like Cheektowaga, playing Maryvale, Iroquois, Pioneer, they've got their work.
Dick, I don't know if you agree with me. I think B1 and probably A3, the we'll go over next week, are probably the 2 strongest divisions in the entire section. Most competitive.
I
All right.
agree.
Let's get into more talk, more bees, and when we come back from the break, Mark these games down, folks, because when he says this is going to be a barn burner, you better believe it. All right, we'll be back with more Inside High School Sports. We're back listening to Inside High School Sports. Make sure you keep it locked here on WGR Sports Radio 550 Sports Talk Saturday. Follows us, a lot of information, a lot of stuff to talk about concerning the Bills. Injury to A.J. McCarron, how serious it is. So keep it locked right here. Listen to the guys for all the updates and more. Before we get back to talking Class B, Francis, we forgot something on news and notes concerning Joey Licata.
Yeah, just a few days ago, we found out, this is from our new writer, Mike Straw, WM Athletics. Joe Licata signed a 3-year extension with Bishop Timon with an option at the end of it for both sides, I believe.
Cool. All right, Dick, what would beat one we're still on?
That's a win-win for the Tigers.
It is. It's an absolute win-win. It's a
Excuse me.
no-brainer.
Yeah, there's still 4 teams to talk about in Class B1. Newport, as we mentioned a couple of times, won last week. Joe Powers is an outstanding lineman, 6'2", 280, strong as an ox. When I looked at him at the recruiting combine, he was like man among boys. He's the outstanding player, along with J.P. Stewart. Newport only won 2 games last year. They could struggle this year, particularly in this conference.
Well, if you look at it, you mentioned one offensive lineman that is in the higher echelons. If you're an opposing defense, and you know that's where they're going to run behind, you're able to gear your plays up towards stopping it on that side.
Right, but when you have the athleticism and the footwork that Joe has, and the strength, he's gonna make things happen. Lake Shore has a new coach, Dan Russell, and Jared Addison, Jack Perry, and Angelo Grillo will be good players for the Eagles. East Aurora was winless last year, they could struggle this year. Connor Bass, Shane McSwan, who is the son of the superintendent at Cleveland Hill, John McSwan, who is an outstanding athlete, excelled in high school, excelled in college, and worked his way up to be a superintendent, not bad.
Not bad at all.
Lucas Grad also is a quality player for East Aurora. The playoff teams, I think the strongest, Cheektowaga, Maryville, Iroquois, and Pioneer.
When we mention East Aurora, we should say East Aurora Holland, Anthony.
Yeah, they do send a few players over. I don't know how many, but they do contribute.
Yeah, excuse me, you wanna go to B2?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This league is very, very competitive, and any one of 5 or 6 teams could take it.
Well, Bees has always been competitive. Well, what's this, the 3rd year of the 3-team?
Third or fourth.
Third or fourth, and it's been competitive every year.
And Albion last year really was a strong team, they were 6-2. They returned 16 starters. Eugene Harrison is a stud on both sides of the ball. Bryce Pritchard, outstanding quarterback. Ben Restivo, good lineman. And Olean's got 13 starters returning. Their JV squad was undefeated. They're gonna be very competitive. Key players for the Huskies, Alex Weekfall, Icar Simon, Alex Bantuso, and Nick Prater Canangelo. And then Medina's got 10 starters returning. They have a studded quarterback, Isaiah Rim, passed for almost 1,600 yards, 19 touchdowns. Last year, other quality players for the, Mustangs, William Braswell, Justice Hughes, Lackawanna, who excelled last year, and I really think that game that between Lackawanna and Maryville in the playoffs, if Noble Smith had not been hurt, then I think that game could have had a different bearing. But this year, they have 10 starters, Manny Land, Malik Snow, Tay Cumming. They're very athletic, they'll be competitive. If you as a new coach succeeding Wilson, and the new coach is Mark Rianzo. Joe Pagano is an outstanding quarterback. He threw, I think, for 1,300 yards last year. Dante DiRianzo and Ben Jellick and Zach Tominich are good players. And Springville, they've only won 1 varsity game last year, 2 JV games. They could struggle again. Sean Berry and Topher Elkins are good players.
Frank was talking about Sean Berry. I guess the kid started as a freshman on varsity, tore his ACL. Next year he comes back, tore his other ACL,
Oh.
and now he's back for his senior year. And he was a good player as a freshman. So I imagine this kid is pumped to play the senior. Watch out for that kid.
And hopefully the
Linebacker.
injury bug doesn't get him again.
Yeah.
I mean, because sometimes you can sit there and wonder, why me, you know, always something's happening.
It's called perseverance
Yeah,
on the part of Sean.
you have
And
to.
anybody that can go through those injuries, playing a game like football and come back and want to be able to play in a senior year. But I don't know if they're gonna have enough talent to compete for a playoff spot.
I believe Barker is now with Medina and Lindenville. So that's the new addition. That's where Barker went, from Whitehart to Medina.
And I really think that with the exception of Springville, every one of those 5 teams could compete. And 4 of them are gonna be in the, I'm sorry, 2 of them will be in the playoffs, definitely, with a third to be determined.
Well, that's the good side of the point that I was against is now, third place team there, where in the overall division probably wouldn't even have a chance at the playoff. Now they could sneak into that 7th or 8th seed.
Yeah, and in the past few years, you've had major upsets in the playoffs when you have number 1 playing 8, and I think Lackawanna was 1, and Medina was 8, and Medina came out and upset them a couple of years ago. So you never know, and that's why, you know, we say it and we repeat it.
And somebody always loses a regular season game that they're not supposed to lose.
Well, yeah, in the case of Lackawanna though, I think that league, they were in a relatively weak league, so they skated through, but because of their record, they ended up in the number 1 seed, and they probably weren't the best team in B to begin with. And you get a 3rd place team from one of the strong divisions, very capable of knocking off a 1st place team from the weak of the 3 divisions.
And we see that in basketball, so it's not.
Oh,
like it's
absolutely,
nothing new.
yeah, 7 seed beating a 2 seed, that's not unheard of by
Sure.
any stretch.
So, Dick, my question here is, I look at Lackawanna as probably the one that is, let's see what they've got this year. Very young on the baseball program last year. I know a lot of these athletes are playing both sports there. They were young, up and coming. Is it the same thing for the football team right now? Young squad, waiting to see exactly what happens with the juniors this year?
Yes. Excuse me, Adam Carter, the head coach, he's got a young team compared to all the kids that were seniors last year. And if you look at it, I think that he's got 10 starters returning. And most of those, if not all of those kids are tremendous athletes. And so it really depends on just the competition you're playing and whether whether the young guys coming up from the JVs are gonna be able to contribute.
That's the other thing we've noticed, Tom, is how many teams that Dick has said has had 10 returners. And it seems like there's a lot this year. That's a nice luxury for a coach to have.
And I'm gonna tell you, because it's never, you know, not that that we're not looking out, we don't understand the teams that are deep into the South towns, but you can never, ever underestimate Olean. They are gonna bring something strong up here, and they are gonna be a powerhouse. I don't care what sport, what division, where they land, watch out, Olean's gonna be in the
They
mix.
do it right.
Except for basketball, they're never successful.
Yeah, if only they could make it to Buff State. One of these years they'll get there,
Jeff
Raj.
Anastasia gets his mail at Buff State in March.
All I can say to Tom's remark is amen. Those kids never quit, and they come to play, they have excellent coaching. If you just take a look at all the sports, whatever it is, I don't know what is in the water in Olean, but they sure as heck have outstanding talent and outstanding
They're
coaching.
doing something right there. That's what we know.
They have a community center where the kids can go and play sports, and they do that religiously down in Olean.
Well, usually you look at, and you know, because I'm involved with youth sports, and that's where it starts. You see the high schools, and there's a good chance that a high school that succeeds year in and year out also has a youth program that is succeeding.
And Olean has a youth program down there second to none.
Go ahead, Dick, let's continue.
You wanna go to Bs?
Yeah, let's
B3?
B3s.
Okay.
Bingo! Oh, I'm
Bingo,
sorry.
we have B3. This league will also be competitive, and Dunkirk, to me, stands out. They have 15 starters returning. They really have been under the radar screen for a few years, and now it's like, to me, I have them winning this league.
Dunkirk's
They were
usually
7-2.
tough. I mean, they're a tough school.
And they
They
have,
were 7-2 last year.
and they have 2 kids who received all-state honors that are returning this year. Taiwan,
Taiwan,
right?
right?
And Octavius Kelpie back.
And I don't have their names in front of me, Anthony, but I would be amiss if I didn't mention that they have 2 female place kickers on that team, and both of them were 2 for 2 in extra point attempts a year ago.
That's good information, Raj.
I'm focused on the next one right now, that's what.
And
where
for
I'm-
Dunkirk, the one other player that stands out is Peyton Moreland. And then Burgard only had two. That's good. No matter whether you played for him, coached for him, or you're talking about them, your bark's still the same. And Burgard only had the 2 wins, but they've got some key players coming back, Dexter Lee, DeMario Baines, and Antonio Norwood
Yeah, that's who I wanna talk about.
is an outstanding player, and someone mentioned that he transferred to a charter school, and I'm not sure if that's, real or just gossip, but he is an outstanding two-way player.
You have him listed as strongest player,
He went,
one of the strongest players.
well, sometimes you can't list the strongest players, when the coaches don't put what they bench in the questionnaire.
Oh, they're hiding
So,
it.
whether that's academics, whether it's fast and their speed, et cetera. If I don't get the information, you can't put it in. But I'll find out and put it in on the website.
How about Demario Baines?
DeMario Baines, outstanding.
Anthony, you want a rough idea how fast the years have gone by?
Hmm.
This is the 15th year since Jason Colbus took over for Hutch Jones. 15 years. It seemed like yesterday.
Wow, that is a long time.
Excuse me. Fredonia Brockton, they get surprised this year. They got some quality kids coming back, particularly a junior lineman, Jacob Skinner, Nicholas Pucci, and Jameson Horch. Newfane made the playoffs for the first time in 24 years last year.
I liked watching them. They
They
were fun
were
to
a good
watch.
team. They were under the radar all year, and they
had a lot
that
of
was a
big
team you did not
seniors.
want to play in the quarterfinals.
Now they have to replace the quarterback, right?
They replace a lot of people.
Right, but the 12 starters return of that team, and Shane Harrington, I think he's gonna have a smooth transition to as quarterback of the Panthers. They have twins who are outstanding athletes, Reese Casanelli and Ty.
They had a nice running back last year too. Does he return or is he,
No,
He graduated-
Brandon Gross?
yeah.
No, he's gone,
He-
along with Max Weber.
Yeah, Gross was the quarterback, and he.
Then Weber was the wide receiver, correct?
Right,
Okay.
Gross was the quarterback, and he was outstanding running their option.
Dual
and
threat.
Gaining yardage.
Yeah.
I think he was over 1,000 yards. Alden has struggled the last couple of years. Last year, they were just 3-6. They only have 5 starters returning. They also have a period of time where they don't have a lot of boys in a couple of the classes, and that's hurt them big time. Because prior to that, their numbers were always exceptional. And Zach O'Shea, Colin, Skalronsky, and Robbie Moats are key to the players for Rob Curran. Eden North Collins have a new coach in Rick Weber, and a couple of good players coming back, Colton Stutz and Louis DeCarlos. And there's a lot of enthusiasm related to, Rick taking over the program, the intensity, the enthusiasm. They've struggled the last few years, so hopefully they can win a few games this year. Tonawanda was winless last year, and they.
Well, with them, it's been a numbers issue, so it's, I know they're trying to get numbers up, and I believe, they have this year, they have a few more.
And, Noah Gross and Zach Verdale are good players for the Warriors. And the numbers sometimes can be such a big problem. And then you get a new coach in, and the new coach somehow connects with the kids, connects with the athletes. Craig Krasinski did that when he took over Williamsville South. He went on to basketball, got all those players out for football, and that changed the whole dynamics.
You have to go talk to the wrestling team, you have to talk to the track team, you have to talk to the basketball team, and you have to find those players who hadn't really thought about playing multiple sports and get them out there. You know, your basketball guys are gonna give you some size, and maybe you can use that tight end. Your track team's obviously gonna give you some speed on the outside. Your wrestling team, you may find a gem of a linebacker or a lineman in there because of, the skill set that they bring from their sport. It's a benefit for we talk all the time. The football team looking for a soccer player to bring in as a kicker.
Can you even imagine Williamsville South with Joe Licata, Kevin O'Connell, Phil Stasiak, and Mark Capola not playing football? I think that's how it was when they were in their early years.
Well, Joe was playing and Bill was playing, but then he was able to recruit
Mark Capola.
and that changed the whole dynamics on the football team. But what you were saying, Tony, one of the really strong pieces when someone comes, he might not have played football for 3 years, he comes out in senior year, and I forget the name, but there was a player in North Tonawanda, outstanding volleyball player.
Yes.
Outstanding vertically.
You're talking about the championship game.
Caught the winning pass, leading over the
The
defensive
pass
back,
defender.
and they wound up winning the state championship. So when you have the coaches that connect with the kids and get those kids out, they buy into it 100%.
You have to get the student body fired up. And it benefits you in more, and I've repeated this over and over on the show, it benefits you not only in sports, but also in the classroom. When kids feel that they're a part of something special, they want to be at school. They're, I have to be there, pep rally, whatever's going on, or it's game day, I'm part of the excitement, claws out, whatever the saying may be for their particular school. So if the kids feel excited about it, they're a part of something, they want to show up, and it helps you with attendance, it helps you with grades, and it helps you with your sports program. So let's take a break. When we come back, we'll touch more on this and more previews. Don't forget, Sports Talk Saturday follows us at 11 o'clock. A lot of Buffalo Bills news to go over. We'll be back after this. David, I will get this out there for you. He says he is one of the parents in charge of the Williamsville North Cross Country Boosters, and they would like us to mention that they are having a team car wash that'll be held Saturday, August 25th, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. The Will North parking lot, 1595 Hopkins Road in Amherst. Once again, that's 1595 Hopkins Road in Amherst, team car wash on August 25th from 9 to 11. So get your car nice and dirty, head on over there and donate to the Williamsville North Cross Country Program.
And you
It's
can go
Martin
across the
Nation.
street and pick up a Bocce's Pizza.
Whoa, that
Smart.
just made it really.
Tony's getting his car washed now.
I haven't had it washed all summer, maybe it's time.
And Spartan Nation will make sure your car is looking a lot better than it is now.
Yeah, they need a lot, they need the whole school to make my truck look better, but, there you have it, so head on out there, and, thank you, David, for, sending that in. All right, where did we leave off, Mr. Gallagher?
We got it, well, we got season Bs, right?
We got the season Bs. You wanna start with A's or a couple of them, or?
Well, rather than getting into the A's and the double A's, let's talk about some of the games that are going to be interesting, some of the matchups that, especially in B's, you're talking about how competitive this is, and we've mentioned a few of the matchups, but, you know,
Cleveland Hill and Maryville, week 1.
Then I was just gonna
It's all-
question
yeah.
that one. We knew about Chickawaga, Maryville in week 7.
should we move that to a bigger venue?
Cleve Hill, Maryville, week 1. Boy, you talk about a barometer.
You'll know exactly where
Yeah.
those two stand, no doubt about it. If that's not a game that gets covered, that should be one of the,
That was a
one of
bit,
the
that
highlights.
came down to like, I think Maryville like led a huge comeback in that game
Is
last year.
that on a Friday night or a Saturday?
It's, yeah, Friday, but it's at
Friday.
So it's
Maryville.
at
So
Maryville.
Cleveland Hill is gonna be playing their home games at Maryville on Saturdays this year. We got that.
Whoa,
from
what's
Coach
that
Ben.
all about? That's
They're
the first
getting
I heard
turf.
that.
At, Cleve Hill.
Cleve Hill getting turf,
Yeah.
wow.
They're hoping it's in for maybe like the first round of playoffs, so they're, maybe they can get one playoff game in that
The
this year.
Carl Curra Stadium is getting an upgrade.
You're seeing upgrades all over the place. Lockport's another one that you're seeing the facilities getting done out there. That could be a big shift for that program.
North Tonawanda.
I can't wait
Yeah.
to see
North
that.
Tonawanda. Yeah.
New athletic
I may even drive by after the show.
Hard
go
to
look.
picture even North Tonawanda getting an upgrade. It's pretty sharp now, wow.
And it's moved, it's like not in the same spot.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's.
It's like off to the side, kind of, and it's where the field
Remember
is.
the field where most of the scrimmages took place?
I don't remember the sum. I can only picture this. their
Well, go
city.
more towards the houses on the one side street behind it.
So
That
then
is
what
closer
happens to the
there.
field now, the current one?
Well,
I
they're
don't
just gonna
know.
put grass on it eventually.
Yeah, but what are they gonna use it? They got all these bleachers and everything over there, the stands.
Not anymore.
When you say turf at Cleveland Hills, they're not gonna put lights in. They're still gonna play Saturdays, right?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about lights from Cleveland.
Okay, because I think they like the fact that they play on Saturdays, because they can get more exposure on a Saturday than they might.
Well,
get
right
on a
now,
Friday.
because
Now-
Saturdays, you have very few games now. Everybody wants to play on Friday night lights.
Well, that's why they've had to play some of the games on Thursday night, because they didn't have enough officials to be able to
Right.
take care of all the games on Friday. And that, right now, you look and you have 2 games on Thursday, maybe sometimes 3. Then if you look at Saturday, you have 5 games, 6 games, the majority of them are Saturday. But one quick question, trivia question. What was the first school that had lights for playing football?
The first
North
school
Indiana.
that had lights for high
Say
school
North
football.
Tonawanda?
No. Anyone guessing?
Oh, I would guess.
Yeah, I was gonna
Williamsville.
say all high as well.
Yeah, I would have said all high.
No, all high lights, no, not even close.
Southwestern in the 50s,
Really?
Wow.
which is hard to believe. But apparently the coach went up to a huge benefactor that had a lot of money and said, was there any way that you could, give a couple of thousand, whatever it was back then, and so we could put lights on, and that's the way it happened. But you take a look at now, get excited about getting lights, Friday night games. Southwestern's had them for 5 decades.
I
There's
could
something
go back-
about though. There's something about a Friday night game.
Well, I don't know about Friday night, I can remember the first game I ever saw under the lights, it was on a Saturday night, it was Williamsville versus West Seneca. Now, you notice I didn't say West Seneca, East or
Before
West.
the split.
You notice I didn't say Williamsville, North, South, or, East, it was just one Williamsville school, one West Seneca school, it was a Saturday night out in Williamsville, and I still remember the game, the late great Mike Ernst scored a winning touchdown on a punt return.
And then you got St. Francis, which owns the Saturday night games. Are they have many games on Saturday night this year, Raj? Do you know?
I think most of their home games are on Saturday night, because Jerry Smith wants it that way, because, like I say, half the Conley Cup committee will be there, because it's the only game in town on Saturday night.
There's some games on Saturday that are being played at 7 o'clock at night. There's only a couple of them, but they're really quality games. So you're able to go to Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and then, go over. I think Cheektowaga playing one of those games, so, that'll be fun to watch.
Well, guys, thank you very much. Outstanding program. Dick, Tom, Francis, and Roger. Derek Kramer, thank you for producing. Next week, we are going to get into the A's and the double A's, talk more about some of the games on the schedule to get you excited for the upcoming season. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Jordy. I got this. Hey, folks,